Good evening and welcome to this 12th edition of ALFILM, this home edition. My name is Rabih Khoury and I'm a programmer of the festival. For many, a short film does not have the same impact as a feature one. Short films might address one topic. Short films are mostly seen as low budget films. Short films do not need much preparation. Short films are a way to just do a feature film. But the truth is, short films require a lot of time and energy to be developed, to be financed, and to be produced. Many short did launch the careers of prominent filmmakers. Many do have a strong impact on the community. Some shorts also made history, the way Sameh Ala's I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face did, winning the Palme d'Or this autumn, a first for an Egyptian short. Interestingly enough, some also in a way foresee the near future, as you might have seen or might want to see in Gaelle Azzam's ELPIDE, which is all about a community wearing masks. In this edition of ALFILM, we're presenting two short programs. The first in our official selection, which is entitled Fighting Against All Odds, and in which our protagonists are all facing the consequences for the choices that they have to make. The second is entitled Science Fiction and Disrupted Worlds, and it is connected to our Spotlight program that addresses genre filmmaking in Arab cinema today. It's my pleasure to be hosting this panel in Germany to discuss their experiences making their short films. I'm very happy to have a dear friend of the festival, Ayman El Amir. We screened his film and Nada Riyad's film, Happily Ever After, some years ago. They were with us in Berlin. Ayman is the producer of The Trap, which is a short film from Egypt and is directed by Nada Riyad. Ayman is an Egyptian script consultant and film producer. He works as a script consultant for many programs, labs, and institutes, including the Torino Film Lab, the Doha Film Institute, the Film Prize of the Robert Bosch Stiftung, and the International Marrakesh Film Festival. He has led consultations for numerous films, and he has established his production company, Filuka Films, in Egypt in 2016, which focuses on fresh and emerging talents. He development lab and has been fostering Arab projects since then. As a producer, Ayman has produced the short film Fakh, The Trap, which was selected for the official competition of the Semaine de la Critique of the Cannes Film Festival in 2019. And he also has produced the feature documentary Happily Ever After, which premiered at ITFA in 2016. Ayman, most welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Rabia.
Also from Egypt, we would like to welcome Sameh, Alaa, who's also a friend of the festival, but never made it to the festival. Some years ago, we had the pleasure to screen his short film 15. Sameh is the director of I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face from Egypt. Sameh was born in Cairo and he studied German literature at the Cairo University before moving to Europe, where he worked as assistant director in advertisement and feature films. He also made his MA in filmmaking in Paris. His first short film 15 premiered in Toronto some years ago and since then has swiped so many awards. Then he has directed his short film I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face, which is the first Egyptian short to compete at the short film section of the Cannes Film Festival and ended up winning the prestigious Palme d'Or. Sameh is now developing his feature debut alongside millions of other short films that we hope will see the light and we will present also at ALFILM. Sameh, most welcome. It's nice to have you among us.
Thank you very much, Rabia.
We also are very happy to have Zorana Mušikić, who's a German producer, and Zorana has produced the Palestinian short film Maradonna's Legs, which is directed by Palestinian filmmaker Firas Khoury. Zorana was born in Germany to parents that come from ex-Yugoslavia. She has an MA in literature, philosophy, and arts, and a diploma in photography. She has directed numerous music videos, short films, commercials, image films, and also documentaries, and has worked in West Africa, in Nigeria, and Liberia for different NGOs supporting young and emerging talents in film. She works as a freelance author, director, editor, producer, copywriter, and creative director, and lives in Berlin. And she has also established her company, Shaf or the Shaf Film, with which she produced Maradonna's Legs, alongside May Aude, whom we have met a couple of days ago. Zorana with Maradonna's Legs has been touring the world, and the film has been really getting international recognition. Zorana, thank you for being with us. We're very happy to have you among us.
Thank you, Rabia.
And last but not least, we're also very happy to have Gaelle Azzam, who's the director of ELPIDE, which is a short film that is presented in our spotlight section. Gaelle has lived most of her life outside of Lebanon before going to Lebanon to study filmmaking. And she has obtained an audiovisual bachelor degree in 2018 from the St. Joseph University in Beirut. Her film ELPIDE has screened at Maskoun, which is a fantastic film festival, as we call it. It's a film festival that is based in Beirut and addresses genre filmmaking in the Arab world. But since then, the film has really been touring a lot in genre festivals, but also in festivals worldwide. She's the director, screenwriter, as well as an experienced editor, and had the opportunity to work on various shoots from commercial to Lebanese films and web series. And she is interested in everything that is related to society, human behavior, and the do's and don'ts imposed to us in life. And I think with that, Gaelle, I would like to welcome you and thank you for being with us. And directly, I will, I think, start with you. If I find my, my start here. So I want to start with you, Gaelle, right away, because your film is very timely. It's a film that addresses a community that wears masks. I understand that this is your graduation film, so the film has already been made some years ago, before the masks became the normality of our daily lives. It's a very, it feels like a very timely film, but for you, it was a complete fantasy. I wanted to ask you first, how were you inspired to just make a film about a masked community?
Well, at first I was thinking a lot about our society, every small group, every sect, every group of people that get together and become something. So I was thinking how we kind of have to let go a bit of ourselves to belong. We kind of have to change a lot of ourselves or let go some stuff that can mean only something to us, but we have to let go of a lot of things. So this is how I came to the idea about a boy who's living in a society where where the mask represents oppression, where he has to wear it to belong to the society and let go of everything that makes him himself, that makes him different from everyone else.
And just to put it in context, the film does not have any time or space that you consider. It could be.
No, it could be at any time. It's more about the concept of how life is seen and how this society is seen.
And as opposed to Maradonna's Legs, which is a film that has a very specific timing. It takes place in 1990 during the World Cup, which is buzzing with flags and people supporting their various teams in Palestine. Zorana, I wanted to ask you first, of course, as a German producer, what captivated you to produce a short film in Palestine that is set in 1990?
I mean, the time has, of course, two layers, because it's on the one side, it's the World Championship that took place in 1990, and it's in the same time set, of course, during the Intifada. So I found it really interesting to produce a film that has these two layers, that has on the one layer really the story about two boys collecting football stickers, and it's something that I've done myself when I was a kid, and I think everybody, no matter from where he or she comes from, knows this fact of being excited, having stickers, being with the team. And on the other side, it gave the chance to tell the story about Palestine in the 90s.
When we speak about telling a story, in your case, Ayman, with your film with Nada, we're talking about a very particular time in the life of a couple. It's a very particular afternoon in the life of this couple. Can you put this couple in the framework, in a framework for us? What brought you to tell the story of this couple in this particular timing?
Well, I think that how Nada starts this project, she was trying to make a spotlight on trying to discuss the subject of abusive relationship. And when I'm saying abusive relationship, it's not the physical kind of abusive relationship. It's about the psychological abuse. And I guess when it comes to psychological abuse, not only in Egypt, but I think in many parts of the world, is still, I won't say controversial, but it's very complex and complicated one, because how you can define an abusive relationship and how one can recognize it and how one in such a complicated relationship can get rid of that vicious circle. So that actually what triggered us first, and that was the intention and motivation of Nada and me to make this film. So, and the film also, I think it made to raise a question, because what's really good and what happened after we screened the film in many film festivals, that also the audience starts to ask that question to themselves. And so it's interesting how differently men and women react to the conflict of the boy and the girl in this film, which actually raises our question effectively.
We're going to talk about that in a bit, but while we're speaking about the concept of time in the films, I wanted to ask Sameh as well. The film deals a lot with time, your film. We deal with your lead character, Adam, who had 82 days away from his loved one, but also needs to be reunited in a very short period of time with his loved one. How did you put the story together? Just when one thinks about a time frame, the 82 days, which nobody knows or have seen, but we just spend this time with this character as he gets to reunite with his loved one.
Yeah, like you mean like how the idea came to me of the whole story? Like the whole thing started with a personal experience. I had something that happened in my life. I lost a very good friend of mine. And then 1 year later, I start to read on a newspaper about something that is similar, about a guy who wanted to see his loved one and he made a risk, but he got caught. That's why I knew from the newspaper. And then I start to think about the act that he made to connect it with my personal experience or the personal hope that I could have done. And then all this came together to become this story.
And when one speaks about the stories, we also need actors to tell the stories. And I think this is something very interesting with all of you. The casting process is also very important. Who's going to tell the story? And we're speaking about short films, so maybe we want this character to captivate us for 5, 10, 20, 25 minutes. In the case of 2 of the films, the children play a leading role. And I will start with you, Zorana. You have the chance to have 2 very young actors who really beam in front of the camera, but also you have a very professional actor who's Ali Slimane to counter that. I wanted to ask you, how was it for you to, as a producer, to work with the director to try to balance the youngsters, but also a very...
I mean, Firas, the director, he's extremely great with children, and he has a connection to them that is incredible. And he also took a lot of time for the casting. He went to I don't know how many schools, and he has seen a lot of children, and then he did workshops and he tried to play with them. And let them act and let them try out things. And he was actually looking for kids who have this idea of acting and to have some connection to the story already in themselves, so that they could be able to play it so well. And then on set, they were just, I mean, they were on eye level. He was like them, and they, you know, it was really not a big difference. Also, compared how he treated Ali Suleiman, they were all on one level, and I think this made the kids also have the feeling that they are so important, and they worked like they have never done something else. You know, they worked harder than anybody else on set. When everybody was tired, they said, "Come, let's do another shot," and they were amazing. Yeah, but it's, of course, it's a big thing how you treat them and how you can connect with them. Yeah.
And also in your case, Gaelle, you had to direct a young boy who mostly is the face of the film. You have another character that appears every now and then without a mask, but basically the whole community is masked. We just see that young boy's face. How was the casting process for you, and how was it for you to deal with this kid as the only kid whom we're going to see on camera when he's surrounded by so many people with masks?
Well, the casting process took time. We had to go to schools as well, and we went to small theater places for kids to learn theater. We tried to see how they would get out of themselves and let themselves go into the character. And I saw a lot of kids, but as soon as I saw Chris, who is ELPIDE in the movie, I just felt by the expression in his face and the way he always asked me questions, okay, so here I'm actually feeling that way and I should be like this. And we actually had a really great understanding. I rehearsed a lot with him, and I was trying to make him feel like everything he's doing is something he does usually. Go to school, listen to the teacher, play with his toys. I was trying to normalize the actions so he could relate more to his everyday life and do it more naturally. What was challenging was actually directing the kids in the class, because they got a bit agitated and the mask annoyed them from time to time, but it was actually a great challenge. I'm happy I worked with kids because I also love kids, so it was very good.
Gaelle mentioned working with the actors, and it takes me to you, Ayman. The working with actors is very important, but also your character, your story is based on two characters, Aya and Islam, who are extremely different and who know exactly what they want from this end of journey where they're going in this desolated space on the beach. I'm interested to ask you, you had to work with the actors on the...
Rabia, could you repeat your last sentence, because I lost you.
I was interested to understand how much you have worked on the development of the characters, but also how much the actors put in when it comes to the characters. Did you work with them on adding things, or how did that go?
Yeah, I think that finding the actors and the actors for this one was one of the most difficult parts of the development, and one of the most difficult parts of the whole journey, because when it comes to actors, I think we casted more than 100 actresses. Some of them are professional actors, some of them are also are known in Egypt, some of them are for them was their first role, and it was very difficult to find someone who is willing to do that kind of a daring project with a cinematic approach that we were trying to do. So it was difficult, and also, but after we find the actors and the actors, we spent, I guess, with the actor around 4 months. Yeah, working with him, and Nada is working extensively, I guess, daily, on a daily basis with him. And we had an acting coach for him to work on this project. And also I think at the end of the rehearsal stage, Nada also gives them the space to give their opinion. and to participate in the development of the mise-en-scène and the development of their characters in the screen. So I think the final draft of the script that we have immediately before the shooting, they had a very good and important input that comes from their understanding of the characters and also from their work with the director.
Ayman mentioned working with the characters and giving them time and space, of course. In your case, Sameh, in this film, but also in your previous one, I have the impression that you don't give dialogue much of an importance, but there is so much happening on the gaze, on the physicality of things. And in your case, your actor, Saif Hamada, portrays a very complex character. I wanted to understand how you worked that out with him. He's a person who portrays the visible as a young boy, but also the invisible when he goes to be reunited with his loved one. How was it to work out the character for you, but also with your actor?
Yeah, actually, like when I start to write a script, like I never write a physical appearance of any role, because I would like to have like open ideas to meet different types of actors and see who could fit for this role. So it's also a discovery for me. So I don't do like a real big casting or whatever. Like I just see the pictures and of a lot of actors, and then some of them we meet, and then we find like we can do this together and he fits for the role. And it was the case for Saif. We met only 3 days before the shoot, but we could manage in a very short time to work on the role, and he was also the perfect for the character. So when we met, we just spent like 15-20 minutes, and he was perfect for it. So we had only to go on the shoot and do the things over and over, and it was perfect. Like it was a perfect collaboration with him, really.
And just as we speak about choosing the perfect cast, we also have to speak about choosing the perfect locations. And what's very striking for me in the 4 films actually is how much attention is given to production design, to the locations. And I want to start with you, Zorana. You mentioned that in the very beginning, that you also as a kid were a fan of collecting these football photos. How was it for you to work on a period short? In a way, it's based in the 90s. How was it to get back all these collection of photos, but also working on the interiors, the exteriors, the old car? What was the process like? And I'm speaking about that, of course, because this costs money. This is a big part of a budget. Did you have enough budget to recreate this era?
Yes, I think there are 2 things. The one is the exterior, and we were thinking a lot where to shoot it. And then it came quite naturally that we went to the place or to the village where Firas, the director, comes from, because it is a kind of very personal story. And his village that hasn't changed so much since the 90s, or we took the places, the streets that haven't changed so much, looked like in his childhood memory, so they fitted perfectly. And then for the interior, of course, we had to create this image, and Firas had this idea that every picture, every frame should look like a beautiful postcard from the 90s, if you see it. So, and we had a very good art director, Rabih, who created this idea together with Firas that it should become also something like, I don't know, like an Arab Wes Anderson look that that is very colorful and very bright and a bit over the top from like just recreating the 90s. And we managed to do it with very, I don't know, moderate means. You know, it wasn't, of course, we needed some budget, and we had some budget, but it was also a lot of improvisation and getting things from relatives and from friends, and just the colors of the wall, you know, just painting a wall green or red, it made so much. And then also the light. And so it was a great collaboration also between the DOP, Christian, Marol, and Rabih, who did it very closely together. Yeah, and then, yeah, of course, the cars, that was difficult. But then again, for example, we took this VW Bulli, it's called in Germany, I don't know the English name, you know, this like little bus that's actually from the 70s, but we had the feeling it fits, you know, it wasn't really matching the time, but it gave this nostalgic feeling that we wanted to give to the film. So we improvised also a bit.
And in your case, Ayman, there is also exterior and interior in the film, but most things happen in that room. And I was really struck while watching the film how every detail in that room counts, especially the floor. The floor is full of things. How was it for you, Anada, to work with an art director, and how important was it for you to have an art director who could really put us in the mood of that room?
Yeah, first, the whole film takes place in Agami, which is in the north coast of Egypt, 60 kilometers from Alexandria. And this place actually changed a lot since the 90s, because in the 90s it was a place for the upper middle Egyptian class and the famous actors to go there and spend their summer holidays there. But it changed a lot. And so I think it was very expressive of the relationship and the states of the relationship between that couple in that specific moment in their lives. But when it comes also to the interior, also Nada insists on shooting in the real location. So everything was shot there in Agami. And it's part of the development of this project that we were developing the character of the location. We are developing the character of this apartment, who owns it before and who owns it now, and what are the very specific details, and what does it mean for the couple, each one of them. So it was really important to develop also the character of this location. But also when it comes to the technical part of the shooting, I think also we faced a lot of challenges, because this apartment oversees the sea directly, and we were shooting in the winter. And even if you are staying there and speaking to each other, we cannot hear each other because of the sound of the sea. So we have to build this apartment from the scratch, and we have to isolate the sound in whole of the apartment, which was really challenging to make all of this work, and also to make it also realistic, and to help us to see this place from the point of view of the heroine of the film.
And speaking of this single room, I go straight to you, Sameh. We're talking about this character who goes into a space that is only designed for women to be in at that particular time. Of course, he enters as a woman in a way. He shares the intimacy of women in that space. I wanted to ask you about the designing of that room. How did you come up with all the things that you wanted to have in that room? How did you know who has to sit where? How did you come up with this room that gives you so much input actually, and that adds a lot to the film, and that is in a way a character?
Yeah, actually, like the hardest part for me in the making a film is to finding locations. It's the most hard part, because I usually, when I write my own screenplays, so every scene for me is somehow I have the frames for it. So it's like I build the film like an animation film. I know exactly the frames and how the character is living in that space and how he's living in it. So it's kind of very hard to find these places and so on, but it's also designed. For me, I'm not searching so much for realistic places as much as searching for the places that fits the moment for the character and how he feels than the others. The moment that you're talking about when he entered the funeral, it's not a realistic setup that the people sit in this specific way, but I found that this is the perfect way that they sit, that could express more the emotions of the stress that the guy has. Like, this is the most scary image that he could have, so I made it that way. So I think I answered the question, no?
We're speaking about art direction, we're speaking about finding locations. With Gaelle, I'm very interested also about the costume design in the film, because this really plays a major role. We see all kinds of masks that the characters are wearing, but also that are hanging at the production. Did you work with a costume designer? How did you work out the masks, but also the outfits of all the protagonists in the film?
Well, in the whole film, you have the same color palette. It's all gray, a minimum of brown, pale colors. So it was kind of the same for the clothes. We were going for something that had only pale color, the same palette color for the walls, for the art direction, and for the clothes. Also, we couldn't put clothes that were something we wear now, something of our world. It needed to be something that had a feel of village work, handwork, something done from the village to the village. Nothing comes from outside. It's all done within. And the same goes for the mask. I actually had 2, 3, or 4 different masks made. But when I saw the mask I'm using in the film, I thought it looked more handmade, because this is their place. Everything comes from within. And it was the right color, the right feel, the right tissue we're using. So yeah, that was it. It was challenging to find everything I needed to find, especially to get a lot of, because we have a lot of characters and a lot of people in the film, to get a lot of the same color, the same palette, the same feel. So yeah, that's it. We worked a lot on mood boards, and yeah, that's it.
We've been talking in this past half hour a lot about the development of character, the finding of locations, the production, a bit of budget here and there. But then these films are made, which is fantastic. And all of these films are finding their way to festivals. And we at ALFILM are very happy to be presenting them today. The work after the film is made is also a journey in itself. And I wanted to start with you, Sameh, of course. You won the Palme d'Or, which is a huge thing. It's the first Egyptian short to compete in Cannes in 50 years of short films. But it's also the first Egyptian short to win the Palme d'Or. And you have a plus, which nobody else has, of course, which is that it was the only Palme d'Or delivered this year in times of pandemic. The festival didn't hand out any other Palme d'Or. How much does that add to the journey of the film? I mean, everyone dreams of winning a big award, but how was it like for you to live having won the Palme d'Or?
I think it was a special year, especially living with the COVID and not knowing if Cannes is going to happen or not. So it was very mixed feelings, like not knowing if the festival is going to happen or not, and also if the COVID is going to go away or not. So it was mixed feeling between like being happy being selected and not knowing if it's happening or not. So until the moment, of course, they said that it's going to happen, that it takes 3 days. It was like a magical 3 days, because I never been to Cannes before. So I don't know what is the actual event looks like. So it was like a dream for me, like Cannes with short films and only 11 films and only the filmmakers. It was like a mini Cannes, and it closes at 9 p.m. because of the restrictions. What was very special, I was really happy to screen the film in this great place with the people there, and sharing this big moment, you know. Like it's very hard to describe these feelings because it's above description, really.
Well, congratulations, Sameh, because this is really a huge achievement, of course. And this is also a huge push for you, because now I think the pressure is much higher for you with your next shorts. Ayman, you lived the real Cannes experience. Your film was selected at the Semaine de la Critique. It had, of course, it was in competition at the shorts of the Semaine de la Critique. How was it for you after such a long journey to make it to Cannes and to screen there for the first time?
Also, I think it was unforgettable experience screening the film there, and also living the whole experience and meeting many filmmakers and discussing our project and our next projects with them. So I think it was important because it gave us somehow the agency to screen the film afterwards in Egypt. So it was really important for us in the journey of making this film. And also, I think it was an important step in our career for making our next project.
Zorana, I mentioned it in the beginning, Maradonna's Legs has premiered in Palm Springs at the Short Film Festival, and since then has been just winning awards in every single corner of the planet. You mentioned that you had a fantastic journey alongside Firas, but also Mayaude, the Palestinian producer. How was it for you to feel this journey after the shooting has ended, when the film has really started to discover its public, winning awards, winning the hearts of, so many people around the planet?
I mean, that's of course totally rewarding when we work a long time, and then of course you want the film to be seen and you want it to play on festivals, and we were just a bit before the pandemic, so we had the first half year of real festivals, what was great, but we also actually didn't have this immediate start. We tried for, I think, the first 6 months to find a good festival for the premiere, and we didn't get into Berlinale, we didn't get into Cannes, and then we had a very good distributor, Lights On, who always said, you have to believe in the film and it will do great, it just needs to start. And when it started, then I think we were playing more than 100 festivals in the last 1 year or 1.5. We won around 40 awards, and then this is really rewarding when you see, okay, it works. It was a journey, and it goes and goes, and it also has to do with I think also with the genre a bit. Because we were selected partly to children film festivals and then to like sports and football festivals, but in between there were also like the regular short film festivals and film festivals. So it plays in very different corners of the world and different kind of festivals also.
You mentioned something very interesting, Zorana, because of course now short films are more and more trying to find their public. They're also trying to find support from and interest and support from sales agents. So also that short films are getting picked up by sales agents is also a fantastic thing. And I think this is something that encourages people to trust sales agent to do strategies together and consider these shorts as films that also need to be distributed and sold and seen by festivals. You also mentioned genre. Of course, the film that Firas has made is a comedy, but Gaelle, you played against all conventions to tell the story the way you imagine it. The film is touring in festivals, but also it makes splashes in genre festivals, one of which is Maskoun, which is an Arab genre film festival that is based in Beirut. Do you believe the Arab cinema today is addressing these difficult topics in unconventional ways? Do you wish to see more genre film being made? How do you view the world that you created in that film on the bigger scale?
Well, I feel that we might need a bit more of dystopian films, because it's a whole new world created, and we don't see a lot of that in the Arab world. But I also feel that everyone can express themselves the way they feel that they can. I have a problem with, not a problem, but I don't see myself creating a world not from the top to bottom, with new rules, new way of seeing things, new way of behaving. I can't imagine doing something that's very real, very in this world. But yeah, I do feel we could do more. And yeah, that's it.
I think, Gaelle, also this being your graduation film is also fantastic, which really hopefully paves the way for you to produce and direct more films that are unconventional and radical and different, to create stories that deal with what we live on a daily basis, but also in a very different way. I would like to get some questions that we have from the public, and I have one which is directed to our Egyptian guests, actually. How difficult or easy is it for you to shoot such topics in Egypt today? I don't know who wants to answer that, Ayman or Sameh.
I can answer. Like for me, the shooting was pretty simple. Like we made the permissions for the shooting and we shot the whole film in like 2 days. It wasn't that complicated because also we are working with a good, well-known production company in Egypt, and they shot lots of films in the past, so it wasn't that complicated to get permissions or to shoot the film.
Ayman, would you like to say something?
Well, I have to say it was not that easy because it was not about the permissions. We have all of the necessary permits, we have the access to the place, but it's about the culture, and also when I speak about the culture, it's about specifically about the culture of some of the people or of the film industry here in Egypt, because some of them were actually very suspicious about what we are doing, and because of the topic again, and because of the point of view, and because of cinematic and aesthetic approach of our film. So I think it was a little bit difficult to find the right crew for this film and to work on achieving our vision, because of those kind of obstacles and challenges. It was really easy to change our vision throughout the journey. So the most important thing was to stick to our vision and for the project to find the most suitable persons to join us on board and work on this film.
Before I close this talk, I would like to ask you a general question about your next projects, of course, and I want to ask Zorana because I'm very interested. Are you interested to still collaborate with the Arab world and do more stories with the Arab world?
Yes, absolutely. I don't have a specific project right now with the Arab world, but of course we have this big network, of course, also because of Robert Bosch, and I'm still very close with my Ode and Firas, and so of course we are talking about new projects, new things, and I'm open to projects of the Arab world.
I have a question that came to Gaelle. Someone is saying that your film is amazing production-wise. What budget did you have, as it's a student film, and did you pandemic?
Can you repeat? I didn't hear the end.
Do you feel it was received differently after the pandemic?
Oh, actually, since the pandemic started, I got 2 festivals talk to me since it started. Before I was applying, I'm still sending it to many festivals, but since the pandemic, a lot of people came to me from themselves, and I feel it's obviously because of the mask. Even though it doesn't mean the same thing, but I feel we could be affected the same way, not seeing someone's face, not looking at the expressions of their face, knowing how they feel, and you connect more with people when you see how they react through their faces. So yeah, it did actually, yeah.
And budget-wise, as it's a student film, what budget did you work with?
Well, it was a bit complicated. We were trying to get everything we could. We were talking to people and coming into people by telling them it's a student film and we got a lot of help. A lot of people gave us places for free. But yeah, it was a challenge because of the fact that it's a short film. We did not have a very high budget, but it was enough to make it work. We struggled a lot. We dealt with a lot of people, but after all, it worked.
I will continue with you, Sameh, a bit the same what I asked Zorana. I know you're preparing a feature film, but you also have shorts that are being cooking alongside. How difficult is it for you to pull out now a feature film? You've had so much success with your shorts, but now it's going to this long journey with a feature film. How is it to produce and to think about to develop a feature?
Yeah, I think it's a very good time. I don't have really any pressure. Of the opposite, like I feel it's now time to develop more than one short story. Like I like to do short films, and I'm also doing my first short film in animation for, but also like the feature film is for me like to do lots of stories and try a lot of things that I wanted to try, and a lot of stories also that I still want to tell. So it's very enjoyable time now to do that as a first time, of course.
I also want to ask Ayman, Sameh has been talking about developing stories. You are a producer, but also you help people develop their stories as a script consultant. How would you think about your projects, the ones you are developing yourself with other consultants, but also consulting for others on their projects? I feel very interested with how you deal with that.
I think I'm lucky because working as a producer, for me, it's not only about financing, it's not about creating plans for the project or finding the place to screen, but also it's about the creative input and the creative development for the project. So I think my experience as a script consultant helps me a lot while working as film producer. For me as a producer, I choose a project that I really like, that I have a good relationship with the director, and that we have that kind of space, safe space to develop the project further and to achieve the director's vision. So I think for me, I think it's both my hats or both my jobs actually are complementing each other somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel your film resonates with the targeted audience and especially with the critics? Do you feel that your film has been received? I don't know whoever wants to answer that. Do we have a volunteer?
I can say something. I'm not sure if I understand the question right, but I think also, even as you mentioned, Rabih, in the beginning, I think short films really need to be screened and watched and reach to the audience. It's really important. I think also that kind of debate that happens between the audience after watching the films, I think it's part of the process. So I think also the more windows and the more places to screen the short films are really important. And again, some people are thinking of short films as just a step to making feature films, but I think they are very important forms and they're very important medium to express ideas and express vision. So I think it's really important to reach with that vision to the audience.
With that, Ayman, I think it's a perfect ending for our talk. Our job as festival is really to bring stories that need to be told, that need to be shared with an audience, and also bring the filmmakers behind these stories to get to meet the audience. We don't have the possibility to be together in a cinema, but we had the possibility to welcome you today. I would like to thank you so much for being with us on behalf of the festival, for sharing your stories with us, with the German audience. All of the films are available on our Indie Kino platforms. So whoever wants to see the 4 shorts, but also the rest of the shorts in the program who are also outstanding, basically this is your chance until the 30th of April. And also I would like to welcome all of you tomorrow to join us tomorrow for the talk with director, producer, femme extraordinaire Marianne Khoury, who's gonna talk about the very personal experience of making her second feature documentary, Let's Talk. So if you want to join us, tomorrow is the chance to have the film talk with Marianne Khoury at 7. And also tomorrow we have a very interesting panel that discusses genre in Arab cinema, which is a panel that will be bringing together Lebanese filmmaker Ghassan Salhab and Palestinian filmmaker Larissa Sansour, and it would be moderated by our dear friend Irit Neidhart. So all of the films that you can see online, the panel on the spotlight tomorrow, and the film talk with Marianne Khoury, we have a long and interesting day for you. But for our guests, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this talk as much as I did. And hopefully see you physically somewhere very soon with your next projects. Thank you and good night.